20-year-old wanting to make a cut in investment banking, what is it that they need to keep in mind?
It requires a lot of long hours.
Right.
So you should enjoy that. You should clearly enjoy numbers. You should enjoy teamwork.
How should they think of their career trajectory if they want to reach to a position of becoming a managing director or a CEO of that organization?
Ability to really identify what is the need of the client. Whatever your team leader needs, you are preempting and delivering it in time and giving more than is required.
If you didn't have support, you would not be here today. And so many women could have been here. So why do you think is this really playing out, and what can we really do about it at our end individually?
Looking after your kid and then getting dressed in a formal attire, attending your meeting, doing your work, and immediately changing and then going back to what you were supposed to do. If you have to achieve something which is extraordinary, you have to put in extraordinary effort. It doesn't matter to me if someone is sitting in office for 14 hours and someone is in office for 8 hours if the outputs are the same. Kudos to the person who is being more productive and they can do more out of their life.
What is it that is really not okay with you that you've also seen in the past and have made sure that it's out of the firm and it doesn't contaminate?
Lack of integrity in any aspect is a non-negotiable because we deal with a lot of confidential information, a lot of confidential things.
Somebody comes from a tier 2 or a tier 3 institute but has got all the street smartness. Would that kind of a pedigree also make cut for you, or are brand names a little more important? Thanks, Sonia, for coming to our show Radically Yours. Really a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, Radhika. I've been following your channel and I love it, and it's such a great pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and a lot of people around my age group in their early 20s, when they get into finance, all of them are excited to get a job in investment banking. And like we were discussing before, that you started your career right out of IIM Ahmedabad in JM Financial, and it's been like more than 3 decades now. And you've reached this position of being the MD and CEO for their banking division at JM Financial. So I would like to start by asking you as to what do you really think is needed to make a cut in this profession of investment banking, because it's not everybody's cup of tea, because it requires a lot. It's very time consuming, long hours of working, and more than that, you need to have common sense to understand deal complexities. So I want to open that floor by asking you as to, for any 20-year-old wanting to make a cut in investment banking, what is it that they need to keep in mind?
So I think some of it is very specific to investment banking as a industry, and some of it is just relevant across any industry. Right. First and foremost, investment banking per se requires a fairly basic level of understanding of finance, right? Of annual reports, P&L, balance sheet, cash flows, and a fairly good understanding of the regulatory framework. Because, whether it's structuring, some bit of understanding of tax, whether it is, doing M&A, so some bit of understanding of Companies Act or, the SEBI takeover code. So there is a lot of regulatory frameworks that need to be understood. It's not necessary that you need to know it prior to entering the firm, but you have to be very adept at learning on the go. If you don't know that, right? I think some of the basic skill sets is, being passionate about what you do. Like you said, it requires a lot of long hours, right? So you should enjoy that. You should clearly enjoy numbers. You should enjoy teamwork. Again, a skill set that will be required in any job profile is that you have to see the big picture but not miss the minute details. As a young, intern or a young rookie joining, you really are the last stop where everything ends, right? So there will be always a natural hierarchy where a managing director will be talking to the client and get the big picture, and then gives it to the next level, who will then break it into smaller pieces. So the buck really stops on the deep analysis, whether it is the Excel models or the presentations. With the person who is actually the junior most. So in a way, if you have a really good mindset, a growth mindset, you can learn a lot.
Yeah.
So I think to make a cut in investment banking, there are two large, broad categories. One is comfort and familiarity with numbers and finance. And you have to enjoy spending time with those numbers, because you have to spend long hours on many nuances of a financial model analysis, on a continuous basis. So comfort and enjoying that complexity of numbers is very important. And second is dealing with regulations, right? Whether it is the Companies Act, the SEBI guidelines on the takeover code, or listing guidelines, or anything to do with tax, right? So that all, the devil is really in the detail of understanding that, because you can come up with most creative structures only once you have deep understanding of the regulatory framework. And it is not necessary that you need to know the regulations before you enter, right? You should be fairly familiar, but you should have the enthusiasm that when you need to, do something creative, you will be able to open up the books, go deep, have an, discussion, brainstorm, and come up with creative solutions for your client. On the qualitative side, again, two very important points. One is very high energy, because it requires long hours.
Correct. How many hours?
No, that is clearly depends upon the workload.
Like when a deal is active, how many hours do you usually?
So in your mind, the deal is there 24 hours, right? But if you are the one who's starting and you are the sort of the person, the junior most on the job, then you can literally assume that you will be there for a good 12 to 18 hours every day.
12 and 18 are very starkly different.
No, because sometimes what happens, the deal starts, then there is a lull because of some negotiation. But when the deal is into signing mode, literally for some strange reason, every deal gets signed at midnight. I do not know why.
Yeah, why?
Because I think till the last minute, people are trying to, dot the I's and cross the T's on the legal documentation, and getting internal approval. So for some reason, it always happens. But I think just the joy and the high that you get when you close a deal is enough adrenaline to make you enthused to take up the next deal.
Yeah.
Right? So I think coming back, the second most important thing is teamwork. Because investment banking is a lot of teams, right? You may be in one team, you may be in the M&A team, you have to deal with the industry team, you have to deal with the, maybe the capital market team, you may have to deal with the debt team for raising the financing. So a lot of teamwork. So being a really good team member always helps.
So who, according to you, is a great team member in JM Financial? Like, what do you look at while hiring your team?
So I think ability to have, there are two different skill sets for junior and senior. Right? So when you are starting off, an ability to really understand what is the final ask, right? And what is the steps towards delivering that is very important. And I think if someone has asked you to, okay, look at this company, to go beyond that and, analyze the industry, who are its competitors, who are its peers. So, to think creatively of, okay, what will be the next question that my team leader will need to ultimately deliver the best advice to the client is invaluable. Not to do just what is asked, but to step up and think what else we need to do to give the client the final solution. Right?
But all of this you might not know until they work with you. So are there any preliminary questions that help you filter from the talent? Are there any unique set of questions that you ask while hiring?
So, no, largely we obviously try to center it around what is that person's background, right? So, for example, if someone is a chartered accountant, then we will try to understand how much of the regulatory tax issues they have actually understood,
Hmm.
right? If someone is, say, from an MBA background, then how much of the industry or corporate analytical capability they have understood and imbibed,
Ah.
right? What are the frameworks they use when given a problem?
Hmm.
So we often conduct case study based questions where
Hmm.
we give them case studies and ask them to sort of,
Like,
resolve
give
certain
an example
situations.
of one type of a case study that you all give to these people who apply for job at JM Financial.
So, say for example, we may give a company A is trying to acquire a company B,
Huh.
right? And these are the broad numbers: balance sheet, profit and loss, industry standing. So a broad understanding of what is the framework that company A should look at in company B,
Hmm.
right? What are the would you advise them to buy it? What should they not buy it above, at what level,
Hmm.
right? So some bit of understanding if this is M&A. If it is on the listing side,
Huh.
then what are the things that the regulator will look at?
Yeah.
What are the due diligence requirements that are required to be done? How will you position this company? How are peers valued?
Hmm.
What are the frameworks that are required?
Yeah.
And if someone is slightly senior in experience, we may actually give them an Excel model
Okay.
and give them 2 hours to work on the Excel model
Hmm.
and come back with a valuation
Yeah.
view. They can do whatever analysis they need to really understand whether they have understood. And a lot of these basic valuation exercises are taught in MBA schools.
Hmm.
So, whether they have been able to actually um, uh, absorb that and are being able to use it on the job.
Yeah. But do you think at the senior level, of course, you do the groundwork and get your hands dirty by doing the Excel work in the beginning. But when you reach that level of the bigger picture and front facing the clients, do you really then need to be in the thick and thin of things of working on the Excel and getting all the details out, or you're good to go if you're knowing how to deal with clients on the surface level?
So,
Because that's like a question everybody has in mind, how to balance both, or which way should you give more time to, because time is limited and there's only so much that you can do.
yeah. So I'll tell you, it is a question of graduating to what requires the maximum time, right? When you are a junior, you need to be in the details, in the thick of the
Huh.
details of the model or whatever is the delivery on on the document or the execution of the share purchase agreement. After having being done it for years, right? As a senior, I can look at a model and I will tell you where the mistake is. Because
Hmm.
if you've done it enough number of times,
Yeah.
you will know automatically what to focus on
Huh.
and what are the sensitivities you need to guide your team to work
Hmm.
around. Of course, as a senior, your larger part of your time has to go towards, really engaging with clients
Yeah.
and identifying what are the issues that they are grappling with and
Hmm.
thinking of solutions for that,
Yeah.
for which you may at your end need to get a lot of different teams in your organization together to deliver that.
Huh.
So the ask will always keep changing,
Hmm.
but you can never shift your eye
Yeah.
from any aspect of what is being delivered to the client as a solution.
Hmm.
As a junior, you're looking at a very small micro part
Yeah.
of that solution, right? As you become senior, you need to look at a lot of other things in conjunction to
Hmm.
give the solution to the client.
Yeah. But since you've seen 30 years of your journey in one company only, you exactly know what does it take to progress up the ladder. And for somebody who's joining as an ambitious analyst or an associate in an investment bank, how should they think of their career trajectory if they want to reach to a position of becoming a managing director or a CEO of that organization? Because you've been there, done that, and you exactly know what it takes. So if you could just give me like top 3 tips for these people who are extremely like outgoing, want to make a name for themselves in the world and for the company that they work with, what is it that they should really focus on if they have to reach to the C-suite level?
So I think the 3 top skill sets that will be required is having very good job knowledge, right? There is no substitute to being good at your work, right? Which means very good analytical skills, right? Very good ability to really identify what is the need of the client. As a junior, your client is your boss. Okay, so you need to make sure that whatever your team leader needs, you are preempting and delivering it with in time and giving more than is required. So I think 100% dedication, professionalism, and being able to deliver what is required by your internal clients, because when you're junior, your clients are all internal people, right? They are the ones who are going to vouch and stand up for you, saying, I want this resource for my next deal. And the more you do, the more you learn.
Yeah.
Right? So that is the first skill set. That to be really good at your job, which means not only having the the technical skills, but also in personality, being an amenable person, being available for the team, backing up team members. So that is very important, because your seniors have to vouch for you that yes, I want this person in my working for, right? And as you progress, when your clients start becoming external, right, it is the same skill set. When the client says, I want Sonia on my transaction, that is the ultimate victory for you as a resource for the firm, because then the firm feels that you are representing the firm in the most professional way for them to then be your backer. Right? And third, most importantly, is to continue to be a learner. You are never too old to learn. And actually, you will become too old if you stop learning. Right?
Yeah. What do you think is still there which is yet to be learned on your side, in your industry, at your level?
I think every day I have the humility to believe that I have miles to go. Right? And that is why I feel enthusiastic about coming to office, because I think there is just so much to learn from even the young in the team, right? And I always tell my team members that ideas is not the prerogative of only the more experienced. Ideas can come from anyone. Great ideas to solve a problem can come from anyone who only spends the time to do some deep thinking. And sometimes a lot of fresh perspectives, a lot of new ways of doing things, a lot of new ways of understanding things come from the young. And I really enjoy that. And in a day and time where so many new kinds of businesses are thriving, and so many of our clients are themselves so young, to understand the lens and the perspective of the younger people is a very refreshing thing for us to learn.
You said a lot of new businesses and industries are thriving now in the market. So what kind of sectors are you seeing more lucrative as an investment opportunity now, at a stage where we are in a country like India?
So, I mean, from an investment banking perspective, since we are focused on capital raises and M&A, you can see the width and the depth of the kind of companies that are doing M&A as well as IPOs, right? A lot of new age digital tech companies where the entrepreneurs are very young people. And unlike when I started my career, where all the corporates were largely owned by business houses, which have been around, which may be the sixth or the seventh generation running it. Here, it is a lot of young entrepreneurs, professionals who are starting and who have done the business, and they are getting backed by a lot of private equity money. So the whole journey of private equity, first investing, which is a pool of deal transactions for investment banks, then the private equity exiting either through listing or M&A, is again a pool of business for investment banks. So I think that has really spurred the whole deal making. And like calendar year 24, I think India must have seen the maximum number of IPOs in the history since I joined investment banking, right?
How many of them y'all led? Like what percent?
No, so there were almost 91 IPOs that were there, and we were there in close to around a large number of marquee deals that were there in that.
Interesting. How many team members are there in the investment banking division at JM?
So, and professionals, we have close to around 85 professionals.
Okay, Nice. And just for the benefit of the audience, can you just explain what JM Financial does before I dive deeper into other business related questions?
So JM Financial is a diversified financial services company. Investment banking actually literally has been started in the country by our current chairman, Mr. Nimish Kampani. He is really the founder of investment banking in India, where earlier it was just fundraisers, but he spearheaded the whole ethos of advising clients, of finding new pockets of raising capital from the Indian retail, from international markets, right, in the 80s. And I think that is where the lead comes. We completed 50 years last year. We started in 1973. So, very few investment banks who have been around for more, 5 decades. So clearly the whole wealth of experience of handling transactions, handling complexities is very much enshrined still in the organization. Like all of our senior leadership must be there for at least 30 years. So a lot of connects with the clients, understanding what they need, how they need to pivot in these new markets, understanding the regulatory mindset, and also being at the forefront of a lot of new things that have happened in India, right? Things like convertible bonds, convertible debentures, warrants. These may be commonplace now, but in India, they were done for the first time at scale at JM. So we have been also at the forefront of a lot of new innovative things that have happened. The first IDR, which is Indian Depository Receipt, was again, led by JM for Stan Chart Bank. So a lot of innovative things. We remain very passionate about broadening and deepening the Indian capital markets, working with all the regulators to make India an exciting place, to invest and for ease of doing business. Because this is our home country and we are very passionate that this becomes a thriving, capital market economy, just as the developed economies are.
Yeah. And you said that it started 50 years back. I mean, just from a knowledge perspective, I'd like to know as to how was it that your chairman Nimish Kampani was pitching India to foreign investors and getting investments here, because like you said, he was the pioneer to get these capital markets activated in our country and make people trust that okay, they can also make some money here in a country like India when it was not so known. So how was it that he was able to do all of this?
That's honestly a question for him because I have only joined the firm from 1995.
Like since you've been working with him
No, but
so
I think one of the most important things for him was his deep understanding of just the corporates that he was working with to raise, and he was obviously working with the best in class corporates in the country, and I think a lot of young people don't even know that there was a world when there was no mobile phones and there was a world when there was no internet. So information inaccuracy was there.
Huge.
So people were not even familiar with the quality of the earnings, the quality of corporate governance, the quality of growth that Indian corporates were already working with. So I think just to go out there, travel there, explain to them, so a lot of GDRs, as you know, that happened at that time before
What's
India.
GDR?
See, that's what I'm saying. You all don't even know what is GDR. So it's like a global depository receipt, which used to be listed in Luxembourg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then ADRs came, which was in New York Stock Exchange. So at that time, of course, we were a joint venture with another foreign bank.
Okay.
So we also, worked with on a lot of ADR listings. Whether it was ICICI Limited, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, a lot of ADRs that happened. So I think also, the whole Middle East, where a lot of NRIs are there. So to get them to get excited to invest in Indian corporates.
Right. Nice.
But this is sort of...
So targeting NRI to invest back in India is a good idea actually.
Yes. No, we still, we continue to do that with, we're having offices in Dubai also.
Okay. Where else do you have office outside India?
So we have in Singapore and in
Dubai.
US.
Oh, and in US. Nice, interesting. And at this current stage, how difficult or easy do you think is the fundraising market looking like, because the public markets have not been performing well at all, which also somewhere people see it as an opportunity to come and take positions. And private markets, anyways, has been on a slowdown after people investing heavily in 2021, given everybody had a FOMO of not investing and then realizing that, okay, their investments were not good bets. So everything looks a little dry right now in this space, but I want to know you, how are you viewing the market, both on the public and the private market side?
So you're right. I think since last 6 months, we have seen a lot of FIs, money leaving the country, and the markets have been very volatile. Geopolitical situation in the US has caused a lot of turbulence across the globe, and India has seen a lot of FI outflow. But if you actually analyze, there has been also a lot of inflow last calendar from the FIs on the primary markets. So while the secondary markets, you're right, they're exiting, and they're exiting since January also.
Yeah.
So that will definitely cause market corrections. And I think there have been enough voices of learned investors who have actually identified that there was a little bit of overvaluation in the mid cap, small caps. A lot of it will correct, and that is the nature of capital markets, of stock markets. There will always be periods of exuberance where people start believing that everything in the future is going to be super rosy, and prices move up, and then suddenly everything is going to be super doomsday and prices crash. Because the reality is always something in between.
Yeah.
Right? So you're right, the markets have corrected, and it will, like you said, it's a great opportunity for people who have been waiting for the valuations to be in the right zone to start investing again. So we hope that corrects. But this, over 30 years, we've seen enough of these ups and downs to know that good quality companies will always find investors at the right valuations. If you are able to capture it at the peak, then the seller is very happy, the buyer may not be. And if the deals are happening at the bottom, buyer is very happy, the seller may not be. So it is an ability to rationalize what you think is the right value. Right. So a lot of on the M&A side, a lot of buyers have been waiting for the valuations to correct, because they felt that they will wait, and it has to make sense to buy something at the right price. You can't buy something at an overpriced and destroy value for your own shareholders. So
So did you see a slowdown in the M&A activity last year?
No, last year was obviously because the option for a lot of people became that I will do an exit through capital market. And not an M&A, right? So because the capital markets were in such a buoyant state, so if someone now that market is sort of not going to be as conducive in terms of valuations, and they may be getting a similar valuation in the M&A space, they may pivot to an M&A trade.
Got it. So are you expecting a lot of M&A trades to happen this year?
I think M&A trades, like I said, have the tailwind of M&A trade more than strategics has also been private equity. And the beauty is that because private equity could exit a lot of investments they made in the past, I think that has reinforced their comfort in the India as a market, that you can make good investments, get an upside and actually realize that upside by exiting. It's not just paper gains. And that gives them more comfort. Two things. One, because their LPs have made return, they are more comfortable to invest more money in those, and therefore they come back with larger pools to invest. Because they now want to, invest more and give more returns to their investors.
Good quality companies thrive regardless of the market situations. So as a banker, how do you measure the quality of a company? What metrics do you look at to know if a company is good enough for it to be suitable for a foreign investment, or no? If you could just give me like top 3-4 pointers as to, okay, what would you really look at? You being a foreign investor, what would you look at in an Indian company?
I don't think the lens of a good company metrics changes whether you're a foreign or a domestic investor, because I think our domestic mutual fund CIOs are one
Yeah.
of the smartest,
Right.
most astute investors, and because they have been so smart and good at what they do, it has given comfort and confidence to the retail investors to put more money into
Yeah.
mutual funds, and therefore the tailwind, because of they have been so they have done their job so well, right? So I don't think that foreign or domestic, the lens changes of what makes for a good investment.
Yeah.
I think it will continue to always be a very good management team. Management means I'm combining management, entrepreneurship the same way. What is the industry? Is there a growing, TAM for that industry? Is the company able to capture the value additions into their own growth of revenues, margins, profitability, corporate governance, transparency? Are they agile enough to adapt and pivot when
Yeah.
circumstances or change in their industry? I think those are the key metrics
Yeah.
for anyone to analyze a good company versus a not so good company.
Right. But we're seeing a lot of emergence of credit funds also, especially after the ILNFS scandal and others, because banks have stopped lending to some of the companies. So are you seeing a lot of credit deals also now taking shape in the market, and do you see it rising more in future?
No, definitely. I think there is a gap in what banks are allowed to fund because of regulations, and because there is a lot of M&A and deal flow. Some of the bridge financings or some of the more credit that is required, say by also lower tiered, lower rated corporates. So I think that is the kind of white space that credit funds will easily be able to capture, because they will have an ability to have a different lens on the tenure of borrowing, on the yield, because they will then take higher yield for the higher risk that they take. Something that maybe banks are not allowed or not comfortable to take that exposure, because they have a very different asset liability management challenge with them banks. So I think there is definitely a white space, and it's really good because every borrower should have an ability to find a lender,
Yeah.
right? And every risk will get priced in at a different rate. But lot of borrowers don't mind paying the high rate, because they in their business or their M&A will be able to generate a return higher than the cost of that borrowing.
Correct.
But they need someone to give them that money
Yeah.
in time. So I think it's great to have that, rather than have companies just get bankrupt because they did not get the financing in time.
That's true. So, in terms of the deals that you've done, what kind of deal flows do you see more? Is it more on the equity side, debt side, public, private? If you can just give us a split and tell us a little bit more on that.
No, I think it is always a function of where the market is. We will always chase
Yeah.
business depending upon where our clients want us to
Yeah.
work.
How
Right?
was it last year, and how do you see it happening this year?
So last year, as we know, because the market, like I just said, there has been unprecedented amount of deals that have
Yeah,
happened in the
correct.
capital markets. So JM was the number one when it came to handling QIPs.
Yeah.
We were there in a lot of marquee and large IPOs, and therefore, given the sheer exuberance that was then, a lot of M&As got converted into capital market because the markets were doing so well. So clearly, the whole focus and revenue was veered more towards capital markets.
Yeah.
But having said that, we've always had a very strong M&A team. When I say advisory, I mean both private equity advisory as well as strategic advisory, which is together called advisory. And that focus will always be there, because JM is known as also a bank that has an ability to handhold clients through a lot of complex M&A transactions. Some of the most complex M&A transactions in the country have been handled by us. So, we continue to do that.
Like, give an example of one of the most complex transactions that you've led, without taking the names, of course.
No, I mean,
like, what was so complex in it? What was the complexity?
See, the complexity can arise because there are many counterparties on the sell side if you're advising a buyer, right? There could be many different factions. We have the track record of handling the maximum number of family settlements, right? Also a lot, one of the largest FMCG buy side that happened, we advised the foreigner on the buy side. Again, a deal that went on for many years because there were so many complexities on that transaction.
Like
right?
what makes a deal complicated?
Because it could be that they need to have a lot of approvals from a lot of shareholders, right? It could be that you are trying to acquire something and the incumbent management is trying to not sell it and therefore trying to structure a way in which that deal doesn't go through, right? It could be because there are different shareholders on the sell side. One faction wants to sell, one doesn't want to sell. So then you need to negotiate because you need all the shares to get control, right? So I think, and every deal will have their complications, right? Either because there is a difference when you start negotiating, the business is doing in a particular way. Through diligence, you find a lot of issues in diligence, or the dynamics of the industry changes. The buyer himself may have get acquired somewhere internationally in the course of a transaction. Sometimes regulatory approvals can take that so long that the deal is not lucrative at all to the buyer, or the industries are doing so well that the seller has changed his mind. I don't want to sell it at this price anymore. Right? So it requires profound amount of patience to get consummate M&A trades. But having said that, we've also been fortunate to deal with very smooth M&As where both sides came together, stood by their word, and really worked in a good team spirit to get the deal done.
Like, which was the quickest deal you've done? Like, how much time did it get closed in?
Any deal from start to finish, because there is a process of, first there will be a non-binding bid, then there will be due diligence, then there will be final binding bid. That final binding agreement itself will be negotiated because it takes long for everything to be nuanced. Then there will be a regulatory approval that was invariably required, which could take time. And then after that you will consummate the transaction. So I think like all good things, it'll take 9 months. So the quickest will be 6 to 9 months.
Okay. And which has been your longest one? Which kept going on and on, but finally got closed and y'all could breathe, aram se.
Sometimes it has taken 2 years. Sometimes it has taken 18 months. But like I said, as long as the deal gets done, and our client is happy, that is the biggest endorsement for us, that it's all right.
Yeah. And tell me about, everybody speaks of successes, but very few people learn from their mistakes, get up and want to look at the failures that have happened in the ecosystem. So tell me about the most challenging deal where, I'm not sure if you failed in any of the deals, but I want to know more about the failures in the deal ecosystem and why do they happen. And if you've encountered any of that, would love to hear an anecdote from your experience.
Yeah. No, see, I will equate failure to a deal that didn't happen, right? Because for an investment bank, a deal not happening and working on it, that is, the client may be happy it didn't happen because they walk away from the transaction, but it's a failure for us because we've invested so much time and got nothing out of it. So that, I will put it as that is the failure, right? So many times we may be advising a buy side, right? And they may not end up being the winning bidder. Someone else may take the asset away from the seller, right? So obviously to that limited extent, it's not a happy ending for us, right? And it could be for reasons that our client doesn't feel that it's worth bidding that price for that asset, right? It's all, so that is something that we will call it not a successful outcome. If you are on the sell side, if you are advising a client to sell some asset, and we don't get bids at the right price, and they feel that no, fine, we don't want to sell it. Again, that's an outcome which is not consummated in a transaction. So for us, it's not ended up in a successful outcome.
Yeah.
Our client may be fine. They'll say it's fine. We will hold it back. We may bring it to the market after 2 years, or maybe we'll invest more and grow it.
Yeah.
So it may not be an unhappy outcome for the client, but for us, since the outcome did not result in a transaction, obviously it can be some disappointing.
Yeah.
On the capital market side, obviously, if the markets don't give the valuation that the client wants to IPO at, we could have a deal which we may not be able to launch.
Yeah.
Again, that's something that has not resulted in a successful outcome. So, either wait, or then the client says, okay, fine, I completely change and I'll pivot to something else. I'll do the private equity trade, or I will do an M&A, or I will wait for the right markets. But if the client can't wait, then they may still go ahead if the markets are not good. But at least that then consummates into a transaction.
Maybe that's why client trusts you more than any.
There is only one way to do things, and that is the right way.
Right.
And that is the JM way. That we will do what is right, because that is the only way to have trust and lasting relationships, right? And for us, getting repeat business from our clients is very important. And for that, we are happy to sacrifice our deal and our fees if we believe that it is not the right timing for the client to do the deal. And I think clients respect that when we give them advice, it is always from the point of view of what's right for the client, not always right for us.
How do you decide if a deal timing is right or no? What factors do you look at?
It's a combination of two things, right? Where the client is in their life cycle, and where the market is at that point of time.
Yeah.
Right? So if the market is not very strong, but the client is at the cusp of bankruptcy, we will say, yeah, please go ahead, because you will not survive. Right? But if the market is not good and the client can hold on, we will say, wait. We will wait for a better timing and then do it. Right? So it's same way on the buy side or the sell side.
How do you manage with really tough clients who
All
have
clients
their
are
own
tough.
way, who have their own way of doing, like, because it's a lot more of soft skills than technical skills in client management and doing these deals. So like you said, most of the clients are tough. How do you manage that with tough love, to make that deal happen?
No, see, I always think investment bankers are like doctors.
Acha.
Okay, trying to give them the right solution for their health of the corporate, right? So you give them the as long as you are very clear why you are giving a particular piece of advice and have evidence of supporting your advice, it's ultimately up to the client to take that advice or not, because ultimately they are the principal, we are just the agent. Correct? Please understand, in today's day and time, clients are super smart.
Of course.
They are super intelligent. They are super invested in their own business. Most of them have ex-investment bankers, as part of their senior management. So they know exactly what is our outlook to the problems, right? So if you have done more homework than them, they appreciate it. If you are lagging what they know already, they are not going to respect your point of view. You have to give them a point of view which is over and above what they already know. Right? And if they trust you that you are saying something which is, taking their best interests in mind, I have never seen a client not take our advice, because there is just a factor of trust and our own homework having been done before we give that point of view.
Right. So we'll actually now touch upon your career trajectory. Like you said, when you joined in, it was at the junior level, and now you're at the CEO level. So you've seen both the angle on the two extreme sides. So what does it really take to be a CEO, and how is it like really different from a role of an analyst as you joined in before? Since you've seen best of both the worlds, why don't you just break it down for us and tell how life looks on both the sides?
Yeah, I've seen the best and the worst of both the worlds.
Tell us both. That'll be more interesting.
Yeah. No, like I said, grass is always greener on the other side,
Yeah.
right? So when you're when you are junior, when you just start, you feel, wow, what a nice life the CEO. They just, give work and go away. And I have to sit the whole night
Huh.
working on all this, right? But now when I'm the CEO, I sometimes wish that I had nothing to do except work on those models and the PowerPoint presentation, and no
Oh.
stress of managing clients, no stress of managing teams. I wish I could just sit and work on my models and my
Huh.
PowerPoint presentations, right?
Acha.
And that was my only deliverable.
Huh.
So I think the canvas keeps becoming wider, right? So you have to keep managing not only the deliverable on the output, but also, like you said, softer aspects, managing expectations, handling an upset client because of something, some misunderstanding about the messaging from the team, managing the team, managing the dynamics of the team, right? A lot of your colleagues end up reporting into you. So managing that whole softer aspect,
Yeah.
then looking at making sure that the team is motivated, enthused, not burnt out. At the same time, keep raising the bar on what needs to be achieved every year. So I think from just the hard delivery of deals, it also becomes a lot of soft aspects about managing people, whether it is clients or even your your board members, your team members, other team members within the organization who you need to interface with. A lot of interpersonal issues that need to be continuously resolved. So
How do you handle conflict management at work? I'm sure amongst 85 people that you manage, thoda bahut ye to hota hi hoga, and everybody like wants to be better than the other. Of course, collaboration is a key part, but sometimes that healthy competition kicks in, that spirit. So how do you like really manage all of this and maintain the culture of the firm? Because like you said, GM Financial has been one of the places with healthiest culture so far in the banking industry, and we know how cutthroat this industry can be. So how do you now as a CEO ensure that you have a good atmosphere with people around, and whenever there is conflict, how do you really tackle with it, especially at the senior levels, because there the egos are more inflated?
Yeah, you seem to know a lot about investment banking, so kudos to you. But you're right, as people, primarily investment banking requires a level of aggression, and a level of because they have to deal with so much competition. Even on the business side, they suddenly can't enter the office and drop all the aggression and competitiveness. That stays with them, right? So yes, it is a challenge to make sure that we pivot that competitiveness and aggressiveness outside rather than inside, right? You compete with outside, not with the inside world. So I think a continuous communication is very important. We have the benefit of having very many experienced hands, so they have worked together, literally grown up together in their careers. So a little bit of personal comfort is there with each other, and bonding, because we've all seen each other through if from our young junior days to our senior days, so stepped in for each other. So I think that really helps, that personal connect with each other. And I try to make it an important KRA that teams should take some off time together, right? We also try to our HR is very focused on promoting teamwork through workshops, through some off time, through some fun times. We try to have individual sponsored parties, wherein just break out for like some snacks and chai. So we try to make it a little bit more interactive. Make sure there is a lot of mentoring of both seniors as well as juniors. So seniors taken a lot of, anyone finishes the deal, they do a lot of teach-ins so that everyone understands. So I think because they spend long hours, people need a little bit more empathy with each other. Yeah, empathy with each other. Of course, a very strong HR team which tries to make sure that if there are any grievances, first port of call is them. And if there's anything that needs to come then to me, we try and resolve it in the most amicable way that is. I think most important, people feel good that they can be heard. right? And like I said, because we have a lot of people who have been with the organization for long, each one has developed their own soft mentors, which they can go out and seek counsel
Correct.
from. And they may be part of investment banking, they may be outside of investment banking, but they are old timers in JM who they can go and speak to vent. But yes, it is investment banking is a very it's sometimes the stress can get to you of the deal, of the demands, internal, external. It does
of
get
the client tantrums.
no, I mean, I think it's not just that. It's because the client also at their end is trying to deliver something. It's not that they're trying to be difficult with us. They are also trying to deliver a very high stake outcome. So it's, as a human, they are also answerable to a lot of important people, and they are also in the same situation as us. Right. So I think it's fine. We are partners with our clients. Right. So it's fine. If and we as agents, if we can add value, we should. I always say that the two most important C's for me is my children and my clients. Okay, that is very important.
Husband has no place, huh?
I hope my husband is not watching this. But
he will definitely be watching it once it's out.
So I think your spouse and your colleagues are supposed to be there to cushion you, right? But the demanding people who you have to respect most are your clients and your children.
That's true. They're more demanding than ever.
So I am not saying they're demanding. I'm saying that we have to be focused to fulfill whatever they need. And hopefully your spouse and your colleagues are there to help you fulfill what they need.
That's true. That's true. But, coming to this, culture of the firm, what is that one or two non-negotiable kind of approaches for you that you won't tolerate at all? Because different horses for different courses, and everybody has a different approach of work. But being at the top, it's up to you what kind of approaches is acceptable to you for the benefit of the overall firm.
Absolutely.
So what is it that is really not okay with you, that you've also seen in the past and have made sure that it's out of the firm and it doesn't contaminate inside?
No, no. There are things which are non-negotiable, but I'm not saying that it was there in the firm and they are out. They are non-negotiable for us at JM. For me, because I am a product of JM, is lack of integrity. That is completely not okay. And it has never been. So lack of integrity, you can make a mistake. We will all be there to back you. But lack of integrity in any aspect is a non-negotiable, right? That is something that is just not on, because we deal with a lot of confidential information, a lot of confidential things, and we have to maintain that integrity. Okay, so that is like zero tolerance.
Correct.
And I think stemming from the same thing, zero tolerance for any disrespectful behavior, right, towards a colleague or a senior or a junior, especially on any gender related issues. We've never had any, but it's literally zero tolerance. Zero tolerance. Lack of integrity and no abusive behavior, which doesn't, which can be in your behavior, in your content, in your words, in your modulation. That is non-negotiable. And I think we've been very lucky that we've never had a situation where this was tested.
Right. Where do you usually hire the team members from?
So a lot of it is lateral. So they have either worked in some KPOs or they have worked in some other organization. But freshers is usually from chartered accountants or MBA schools.
In MBAs also, if somebody comes from a tier 2 or a tier 3 institute but has got all the street smartness and the know-how because they've educated themselves more than the institution has given them, would that kind of a pedigree also make cut for you, or are brand names a little more important?
Brand names are not at all important. I'm very clear on that. Ultimately, what matters is the person's basic skill set, their willingness to continue to learn and improve, their enthusiasm and teamwork. Brand names are not at all important. people mistake this thinking brand name is important, but I think brand names are just there to make work easier, because sometimes brand names are early markers of these traits,
Yeah.
right? So, but it is not the other way around,
Right.
right? So there could be, not none of these four criteria could be met in a great brand name that we go when for recruitment, and we come back without recruiting anyone. And if we find that talent somewhere else, we hire for talent,
Yeah.
right? So
And we were discussing about how you have zero tolerance for any gender-related biases at work, and that's how it should be, honestly. But unfortunately, we've seen a lot of capable women leave their careers because of not getting the right support, even at work or at their homes. Fortunately, that's not been the case at GM Financial, as you were telling me. But generally speaking, why do you think that happens till date? Because we've lost a lot of good talent, and you were also telling me because you have a supportive husband and a family, ever since childhood you've been able to reach this position. Otherwise, you being a woman with so much of potential, if you didn't have support, you would not be here today. And so many women could have been here at this position of CEOs in different companies, but they're not. So why do you think is this really playing out, and what can we really do about it at our ends individually?
yeah, I think great question. And first of all, I want to caveat that each individual and woman can choose and decide what's right for
Yeah.
her at any stage, right? So I'm not trying to generalize that everyone should only be doing their career.
Yeah.
Someone finds fulfillment in, letting, not everyone can enjoy, this kind of intense career.
Yeah.
So if, they find joy somewhere else and they want to let go, I would not brand it as a failure, because, it's their choice, and whatever gives them fulfillment and happiness, they should do.
Correct.
But if your question is that someone wants to do investment banking and has, left a very fruitful career and is unhappy about having done it, then I think definitely there is no undermining the fact of having a supportive culture, whether it is at home, both at home as well as at work. And I think the beauty of technology that has got, completely accelerated through COVID, right? Using Zoom or Teams to do your meetings, clients accepting that you don't need to be there physically present, I think is the biggest boon that women could have got, right? Where they can be in two places at the same time, right? So you can be at home, looking after, your family or your children, and at the same time being able to attend meetings. You don't need to, physically travel 24 hours to do a 3-hour meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a great equalizer for women, and I think women should grab it with both their hands. Right. Definitely a supportive work culture which recognizes and is focused on outcomes.
Yeah.
Right. Substance rather than form. I always say that,
Yeah.
right? And I say that not only to the women but also to the men, because men can also have circumstances where they may need to be at home to look after an ailing parent or, whatever. And I say that, as long as you are delivering what is required of you in a very professional way, it doesn't matter the form in which you are doing it.
Yeah.
You may be, looking after your kid and, then getting dressed in a formal attire, attending your meeting, doing your work, and, immediately changing and then going back to what you were supposed to do at home. As long as, you are able to manage both, right? It will be a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that if you have to achieve something which is extraordinary, you have to put in extraordinary effort, right? You can't expect outcomes without putting in that effort, right?
Yeah.
So, despite having a very supportive work environment as well as a family, I have burned the candle at both ends, right? It has been very hard, very often, long periods of time when I've had to, be very dedicated to, some client, some transaction, and I have compromised a lot of time with my children on very important stakes for them, right? And therefore, little bit of educating your children also that it's okay if your mother doesn't come for one award ceremony of yours, right? And it is okay if your mother is not there for every birthday party of yours. And I think children completely appreciate that. I think a lot is made out about missing out a birthday party. I mean, my children have got awarded, have won many awards, and I have not been there for many occasions when they have got awards and they have got appreciations at large forums, and they were completely okay with it, right? Because they said it's fine. I know that it's not that you're sleeping at home or you're gone for a movie. You are working hard for us. So to make your family a part of your career is also important. I think women need to speak a lot more to their internal stakeholders, whether it's your children or your in-laws or your husband, and make them a part of your journey. See, they don't like it when you alienate them from your journey.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it's a black box that you disappear at 7 or 8 in the morning and you come back at 2 in the night and it's a black box.
Correct.
Right? My children, I have always known, right, when I have gone for an important pitch, they are rooting for me, right? That run, you wear this, or make sure and wishing me all the best. And they are fine, right? Just as I asked them how their exam was or how their athletic meet or swim meet was when they come back, they ask me, how was your pitch? How was your meeting? Did your deal get done? When I'm unhappy about an outcome of a transaction, they stand by me and console me as much as I console them when they get poor marks.
Yeah.
So it's teamwork, right? So the same rules that apply in work, we need to apply at home. And I think a lot less dramatization needs to be done about women not being present for every occasion of their kids. And I'm telling you, with the experience of my kids, that children are completely fine with that.
How old are your children now?
So my daughter is 19 and my son is 15.
Okay.
And they are completely fine, right? They understand and they are actually very proud of, their parents achieving success. And to be fair, I give the same advice to the male colleagues also.
Yeah.
That, it's fine. It's okay. Sometimes our life can get imbalanced, right? Sometimes we may miss something at work because we need to deliver and be there with our family. And sometimes, we may miss something in the family because there is a demand from the client. And I think it's all right. And I think both the clients also understand and are very sympathetic, and so is the family, right? So I think, I know when I had newborn kids, my clients used to say, it's late, you should go home, right? So they are very empathetic too. And today technology is the biggest blessing. We must use it very aggressively to fulfill what you need. But yes, it does require, imbalances will come. Every day and every year is not going to be balanced. There will be imbalances, but you pick and choose. And if you truly enjoy what you do, I don't think trying to be the perfect mother, the perfect banker should be your pursuit. Don't seek perfection.
Yeah.
That is the first rule of trying to get everything. Don't seek perfection, right? Just do what is right and the best that you can at that given point of time.
Yeah. Just show up every day and be present in what you're doing.
Yes, exactly. And absolutely right. Because, so many times I feel people are there long hours in office, but not all hours are productive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So if you can be for few hours, but be productive, and that's what I said by being focused on outcomes, right? It doesn't matter to me if someone is sitting in office for 14 hours and someone is in office for 8 hours, if the outputs are the same.
Correct.
Right? It's kudos to the person who's being more productive and they can do more out of their life. I'm fine.
Right. Ultimately, results matter.
And that's how it should be, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. But that was like a very power-packed answer.
I'm very passionate about making sure that your family is as much a part of your career as your colleagues. And colleagues also really step in for you. If you are open with them about having a family issue. I have never seen any colleague not stepping up for another one if they know you have a personal issue. Right? And just as I have always stepped up and made sure that I was available for my team members when they had a personal issue. I think that's the fun of being in a place for a long time,
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
each have each other's back.
I mean, at the end of the day, we are all humans. I mean,
Exactly.
professionals later, human beings first.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
why not?
And sometimes I feel people just don't reach out and ask.
Yeah,
Right?
lot of hesitation.
Yeah, and I think it's not a sign of weakness to ask help when you need it, either at home or at work.
Yeah, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
might
And
as
I
well
think,
just.
and I think, people expect someone else to reach out and give a helping hand.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel you should open up and ask, seek that help.
Correct.
Seek that help from your spouse. Seek that help from your children. Seek that help from your in-laws or your parents.
Yeah.
Seek that help from your friends. Seek that help from your colleagues if you need it, because they are there for you. Sometimes
yeah,
it's just that you've never asked.
Yeah, seeking help only makes you stronger, not weaker.
And
which is what people need to change.
and you open up a relationship where they also feel comfortable to sort of seek that help from you, and then it becomes a very symbiotic and a very very strong relationship to root for each other and grow together. I think that's a fabulous culture to be able to grow together.
So how do you give back now to the younger generation? Do you mentor a lot of people?
Yes, I do mentor a lot of people. I think through a lot of forums.
Like which ones?
So we have a lot of forums.
Internal forums?
No, internally, of course, we, as a CEO, I have to.
Yeah.
But also we have a lot of forum. We have a forum called Women Investments. So a lot of other forums where.
Lastly, I want to ask you that you've been like working since more years than I was here on Earth.
Makes me feel very old.
No, just makes you more a person with more wisdom. So
Thank
I want to ask you.
I like the phrasing of that.
Yeah, then what is that one cost, if I could ask you, that you've paid to reach where you have reached professionally and personally in your life? What is that one thing जिसको आपको लगता है कि अच्छा यहाँ पे पहुंचने के लिए ये प्राइस पे करना पड़ा है मुझको?
No time, no time for no time to stand and stare. No time for self.
Oh.
No time for self.
Do you like regret that a little bit?
No.
No?
Yeah, see, you need to prioritize what is most important, right? And what you enjoy the most, right?
Yeah.
So, if getting in a list of 10 things, if you get the top few, it's fine. It's a matter of time. It's like I said, it's a matter of time. Kids will grow up and go, and then you'll have a lot of time to yourself.
Yeah.
It's phasing in and phasing out of certain.
You have to choose your battles at that time.
Phasing in and phasing out of what can you get at this phase of your life versus some other phase, right? So I think it's a part of growing up, and I think, like I said, I don't seek balance every day of my life or every year, right? But as long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing, even if it is burning the candle at both ends, I'm happy, right? If it means that I get more time with my clients or with my children, my family, or I'm happy with that. It's fine. There is always an ideal life where you can have 48 hours in a day, and then you can get some more time to learn a music instrument or follow some passion of yours that is buried since your college days. But I'm not a college kid anymore, right? So you cannot have that college life.
Correct.
Right? So it will always compromise things which at that point of time are not important. So when you're young, maybe spending time with your friends is important, but as you grow older, that time needs to be allocated to something else. So I'm sure there will be a time when a lot of the things that are high priority now will become less important, and then you will, the time for friends and time for fulfilling your passions may come back. So to each one has to juggle and prioritize what is important for them.
Yeah, but for somebody who wants to dedicate more time to their self, you wouldn't suggest them investment banking as a career, right?
Well, I will suggest that you.
Question.
No, it depends upon then which part of investment banking you want to do, right? You maybe work in a specific sphere and do kind of work which allows you more flexible hours, to cater to what you want.
But is there
I
any
feel
function like that in investment banking?
they will have to find platforms that will give them that, right?
Huh.
I don't see when I had my first child, I also had my mother who was very unwell. And at that time, I really mentally was not able to get myself back to the deal making mode and the intense hours. And I think, JM gave me a ability to step back from investment banking and do something for, the internal strategy and work on the internal part, which was not
Okay.
client facing, but was more internal,
Huh.
which gave me a little bit more, lesser tight deadlines, more internal clients, right? Because I really needed to sort my mental,
Declutter.
because it was too overwhelming,
Yeah.
just the new things that were happening in my life. And I took some time away from investment banking to handle that. And then once I was ready, it again allowed me to go back to investment banking because I wanted that, when I asked. So I think, like I said, it's a matter of you finding the platform that gives you this zooming in, zooming out capability. I was
Right.
fortunate that everything that I wanted, JM as a platform gave me at
Yeah.
every stage of my life. So I'm very fortunate.
Yeah.
And and that is why I will, it has been a journey that I could fulfill to focusing on what I like to do.
Yeah. Maybe you spend more and more years now at JM. And next time when we interview you, maybe after a few years, we still get to hear that, okay, you're still at JM and are building your career more from there. But thank you so
Amen to
much,
that.
Sonia, for your time today.
Thank you.
Really
It's
loved
been my
speaking
pleasure.
to you.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.